Well, Razorback fans, Sam Pittman said that this is the best team that he's ever had while being at Arkansas. Is he right? Well, let's talk about it on today's Locked On Razorbacks podcast.
You are Locked On Razorbacks, your daily podcast on the Arkansas Razorbacks, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And welcome into the Locked On Razorbacks podcast. I am your host, John Nabors. I am also the host of Inside Arkansas Live, which you can catch every weekday starting at noon on Inside Arkansas and InsideArkansas.com. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your first $5 bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to be used across the app. Download the app today. Hope everybody's having a wonderful Wednesday, halfway point of the week. And we're going to be gearing up for Arkansas and Memphis this upcoming weekend. But there will be some things we want to talk about, like Taylen Green specifically, on if he's going to be able to be the guy that carries Arkansas to success this year, but also a little bit of moving forward. I know a lot of things have been going on here recently for Arkansas fans, but we'll talk about that. But I wanted to bring up something that Sam Pittman, Razorback head coach Sam Pittman, said in his press conference that he had on Monday. He said a lot of things, and a lot of what we would have more likely talked about yesterday on the podcast. Didn't get a chance to because of the Hunter Yurchek stuff. But there were a few things of note, just giving updates and whatnot. But one of the things that really stood out was when Sam Pittman was asked about his team and about, the talent and about, are they good enough? Do they have the talent enough? And he goes into some in-depth analysis, but also has something to say at the end of this clip. It's just a couple minutes, but take a listen to Sam Pittman talking about his team and also pay attention to the very end of this clip specifically.
Well, let's start offensively. I think Taylen Green was the first guy in the history of this school that had 300 passing and 100 rushing. Goes back, I don't look smart very much, but I did say we got Taylen Green and we got a chance, and nobody else has him. And that's true. So I feel like offensively, our line's better. Our wideouts are catching the ball well and running tight end. We're good there. Running backs, good players, doing a good job. And I think we've got the talent to be much better on defense. And we've got to simplify some things, and we've got to let these guys play. And then find, somebody's going to miss a tackle. Okay, that's fine, but let's don't miss 10. Somebody's going to miss a tackle. Let's line up and make them earn what let's don't cut somebody loose. And so we've got to be a little simpler there. And then the special teams, we don't punt much, but Devin's doing a good, kicked it out at the 7. And certainly special teams not a huge factor except for, they made their 2 and we didn't. So right now, I feel like the disappointment of losing can't take away that I think we've got a really good team and we can play with anybody that we play. Our opponents are very good. And so you have to play well. But I feel really good about the football team. We've got some things to correct, but I do think this is one of the better teams that I've had, even though we lost on the road the other night. I still think this is one of our better teams that I've had since I've been here.
Okay, so Sam Pittman was talking about those specifics of his team and what he feels and how he views them and everything. Now, he said that using the terms of one of the better teams that I've had. So, is that being just politically correct, trying not to upset anybody? Because if he says clearly coming out and saying this is the best team I've ever had, then maybe it insults other teams that he had or other players that were on other teams. But it started really hitting me where 3 games through the year, I think that this team might be better than what I anticipated. And it's strictly due to the fact of the offense and for Taylen Green, which again, we'll talk about specifically. But considering how things have looked through 3 games, which is all we have, we'll see what they do against other competition. I start thinking when Pittman brings that up, well, which was his best team that I felt? Well, we all know it's the 2021 team. They went 9-4. They lost 3 straight games, and a few of them were really close. They lost to Alabama by a touchdown on the road. They lost to Ole Miss by 1 point. They went for 2 instead of picking the extra point to go to overtime, which, again, I think is the right call. Got smoked by Georgia. That was pretty tough. But then they lost this weird game to Auburn at home, which Auburn was not very good, and that was a frustrating thing. But either way, that was the team that beat Texas A&M, beat LSU, beat Missouri, beat Texas. It was a really good team. And so that was always the one that I looked at as far as for Sam Pittman and being his best team. So looking at it for this season, which, he's still got 9 games left. We don't know how many games this team's going to win, but let's just look at it from a logistic, but also a very objective standpoint. What did that 2021 team have? Well, you had the best Razorback player that Sam Pittman ever coached, Taylen Burks. The guy was a first-round pick for a reason. I know he's struggling to stay healthy over there in the NFL, but to me, he was the best player Sam Pittman ever had, and he was a guy that was able to change games alone. KJ Jefferson was also solid that year, and I think he was a solid quarterback for Arkansas. I know he holds a lot of the records, but I thought he was always pretty good for most intents and purposes. I think that sometimes we can forget about KJ Jefferson. I'm one of them, but he did pretty good, and especially in the system with Kendall Briles. You think about the running backs that you had, which you had a bunch of freshmen and young guys. You had a Dominic Johnson, who actually came on late and looked pretty good late. You had a freshman Rocket Sanders and A.J. Green, which, he's still on the team somehow. A true freshman then. But you also had Traylon Smith, who was another guy. The tight ends, you had Blake Kern. Offensive line, you had some pretty good pieces there, but it was really about the defense that maybe made the difference in the jump there. I mean, you had 3 linebackers that were all very experienced, very solid guys, not all Americans by any stretch, but really solid players. You had a John Ridgeway up front that was clogging the hole. You had a secondary that had some really good players. And I know you lost Jalen Catalon for the season, but you had a Joe Fouché. You had an Greg Brooks. Eric Gregory was on that team too. But you had a Greg Brooks. You had some guys that were really nice pieces there in the secondary. And that was the reason why that team won. But if you're comparing it to this year's team, specifically this year's team, and you start to think about, okay, well, what about this team in comparison? Like, how does it compare with that team? How does it look? Do you have a Taylen Burks? No. You don't have a Taylen Burks. That's a very obvious thing. You don't have that level of player. I don't see any player on this team that's going to be a first-round pick in the NFL. But do you have a better quarterback? I mean, really think about it, folks. Is Taylen Green a better quarterback than KJ Jefferson? I'm going to give him the nod and say yes. Only and strictly because I think that Taylen is more the prototypical type of quarterback that you would want to have when it comes to the different playmaking ability. And that's not insulting to KJ Jefferson. I'm just saying I think Taylen Green has more attributes, especially in the passing game, to be able to make it work than what KJ Jefferson was able to do. What about running backs? Are you better in that front? Well, I don't think you're worse. I think Mike Washington's good and Braylon Russell's really good. Are those guys similar to a freshman Rocket Sanders or a redshirt freshman Dominic Johnson? I think so. You don't have Taylen Burks, but what about the other wide receivers? I think overall, depth-wise, I think this might be the best group of wide receivers that Arkansas has had under Sam Pittman. And I don't think that's a controversial statement. At least I don't think it is. But I think that you've had plenty of opportunities for guys to step up and be really good, and I think that they have been pretty good for the most part. So you got that. Offensive line, I might say that this is the best offensive line Arkansas has had under Sam Pittman. We'll see. I know it's early because a lot of these you still have a lot of games to go through, but I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility to say that this is the best offensive line. It's the best pass protection offensive line you've had. I can promise you that. So far, they have looked phenomenal when it comes to pass protection, and I don't see that changing. But defensively, are you better on the D-line than you were? I think so, because that D-line that year you had John Ridgeway and couple guys, and that was it. Like, you didn't have any depth. It's zero depth. As bad as the depth may be this year, you didn't have any depth back then. Linebackers, I think you're much better there. Secondary players, I think there's some comparisons, but it's hard to defend them after that past game against Ole Miss. So I'm not going to go with that and just say simply, oh yeah, they're for sure better. But the point is I just really off the top of my head went through it and start comparing it all. And I believe that if you really measure it all out, this might be the best team Sam Pittman's had. I think it balances out a little bit more. You don't have that player in Taylen Burks. You may not have those great secondary players that you did, but you're better at defensive line. I think you're better at linebacker. I think you're better at offensive line. I think overall at wide receiver, you're better. I think you're better at quarterback. And yes, folks, I think you're better at coaching. I think you have a better offensive mind with Bobby Petrino running the offense than Kendall Briles. And I was somebody who's a big Kendall Briles fan. I liked Kendall Briles. But I think overall, you got a much better setup. So when I heard that about Sam Pittman, I was like, man, is that true? The more I thought about it, there might be some truth to it. Now, got to be some more done. We got plenty of games that can change my mind, but I think that Sam Pittman, there is some truth to what he says in that. Let's talk about Taylen Green coming up next here on the Locked On Razorbacks podcast. All right, Razorback fans, Mazda's crafts cars for those who do more than simply just move. Mazda delivers confidence with every ride. With more IIHS Top Safety Pick Plus awards than anybody else. From footwork to breathwork, athletes sweat all the details, while Mazda brings the same intention to how they craft every single model. You can feel the Japanese craftsmanship in every detail, from the metallic accents to available Napa leather upholstery. You can even make everyday drives feel like anything but, from smooth sailing to intuitive controls. Like our players, we sweat every detail, because when you make every moment count, impossible becomes irrelevant. Mazda, move and be moved. We're also brought to you by our friends over at DoorDash. It's almost the weekend, and it's time to look back and crown this week's MVP on Who Delivered, powered by DoorDash. Just like you can win every Saturday with DoorDash Streaks, saving more every time you order. These players deliver when it matters the most, so let's break it down. For the Arkansas Razorbacks, I mean, it has to be Taylen Green. I know we're going to talk about him a little bit more, but it has to be Taylen Green. The dude was outstanding, was able to do so many different things with his arm, with his legs, and being able to continue to just be that guy all the time. It stood out, and he was just making plays right and left. And he's the reason why he remains so successful, and it's unfortunate because he didn't make any turnovers, didn't really make any mistakes. He played phenomenal. He came through in the clutch, and if you've been watching week after week, you'll know that it wasn't a fluke. Taylen Green is on a streak. And just like Taylen Green delivered for the Razorbacks, DoorDash delivers on your Saturdays. And with DoorDash Streaks, you can save every Saturday you order. Stack it up with all season long, and you can save up to $250, including $100 in DoorDash credits. Order this Saturday. Keep the streak alive. Fuel your game day. Only with DoorDash. Terms apply. Promo period through November 18th. Okay, so moving on into the next segment of the Locked On Razorbacks podcast, I want to speak about Taylen Green, because this is a guy that obviously has been getting a lot of love, and for all the right reasons. And I went through the team and comparing it to the 2021 team previously, and was discussing about the attributes of him, and, you know, is he that guy? Is he to the level of, you know, where's he at quarterback? And I think the question becomes, even in that clip that I played with you, or for you, with Sam Pittman, was talking about, hey, as long as we got Taylen Green, we have a shot, and that's what he believes. And I think, again, there's truth to that. I believe right now Taylen Green is the best quarterback in the SEC. Right now, based on the performances over the week and over the weeks, I think he's the best quarterback in the SEC. You can debate that. You can disagree. That's fine. But considering the circumstances and considering some of the plays that he's made, you'd be hard-pressed to find another one. He's not perfect, but it's almost like you want to bring up and call him third and Taylen. Like, his third and long is third and Taylen. And he makes first downs all the time when it's 3rd and 10 plus. We saw that against Ole Miss. And that's something that also Bobby Petrino's offense at Arkansas last year and this year have been really good at, is third down conversions. It's unfortunate because Ole Miss was pretty good at third down conversions last week too. But he has just been phenomenal. And he's a humble guy, and I think that he feels a lot more comfortable with his throws and with his legs. He can be so dangerous, and he's really just a defensive player coordinator's nightmare because you don't really know how to slow him down. You don't know what to do with him. You don't know how to handle him. And because of that, he's been able to continue to make plays, and I think he'll continue to make plays against whoever he plays. And against Memphis this upcoming week, for instance, I don't see any reason why, but I'm just worried about the longevity here. I'm worried that if he does get banged up or if he takes one too many hits on the run, that it's going to be costly to Arkansas in the long run. I have no problem with KJ Jackson, the backup. In fact, I think he's a great player and will be a great player. But there's a reason why Taylen is your starter, because he is the guy you want starting. He's the guy that Bobby Petrino wants starting. And I don't really want to risk that. I don't want to risk that in having anybody else besides Taylen Green at the quarterback position. But I think it's a dangerous game to play where you rely on one player to do it all. He's not shrinking from the competition. It's not like he can't handle being that guy. But it just makes me uneasy. Because what if you run into a defense that figures him out? Or is able to put a little bit of pressure on him? Or is able to make him make throws that he ends up having intercepted? Like, what if those things happen? How's it going to work? What's going to be your alternative? Where do you go from there? I got asked that question by somebody on Twitter. And I started thinking about it. I was like, okay, well, I guess they could run the ball. And I was like, wait a minute. No. There is no alternative. They just need to keep going to Taylen Green. And that's a good thing. That's okay. You need to keep going to Taylen Green. Because even if he makes a mistake, or if he's ending up going up against a defense that's having a lot of success against him, you keep doing it. He's your best player on your offense. He's your best threat. He's your best weapon. And if he can't find it here or here or here, then maybe he finds it here on this drive and you get it going. It's okay. Like there's not a situation where you always have to look at it in a very black and white deal of like, all right, well, if he's struggling here, then you have to go completely a different direction. Or if he's struggling here, you got to bench him. You know, like there's just such a immediate thing to it. Taylen Green is going to make mistakes this year. And even if he goes up against teams and defenses that are doing really well against him, I still want him to try to make his plays. I want him to be Taylen Green. I don't want him to revert back to something else and be something that he's not. If him being Taylen Green means he ends up throwing a pick because he tried to force it in there a little bit, that sucks, and you can't do it in certain situations. But if he does that, but then the next drive or the drive afterwards is in a similar situation and forces another play, but it leads to a touchdown, then I'm willing to live with that. I'm willing to balance it out that way. Now, again, you don't want that. You don't want it to happen that way. But when it does, it's a matter of overcoming it. If you're Taylen Green, you got to overcome those things. And I think he can. And honestly, I think he will. But he's still got to handle himself. And for Bobby Petrino to have him and to know that what he's got at his disposal, there's a chance, folks. I'm not saying it'll happen, but there's a chance that Arkansas could break a lot of offensive records this year. There's a chance that Taylen Green could have one of the best seasons a quarterback's ever had at Arkansas, statistically speaking, because as we've seen already, he's done certain things twice that nobody else has done. And this past game, he was the first quarterback in Razorback history to throw for over 300 yards and rush for over 100 yards. That is incredible. But is it something you want to see every game? Yeah. Yeah, I think I do. As long as he's staying safe, of course. As long as he's protecting himself and being smart with his decisions. Yeah. Because I'm telling you right now, folks, I know Arkansas lost this past game. But if you told me that Taylen Green, the rest of the season in every single game, was going to have over 300 yards passing and 100 yards rushing, that's the only thing I could know about the game. It's just those two stats. That Taylen Green rushed for over 100 yards and threw for over 300 yards in every game. I'm going to immediately assume and know that Arkansas had a great year. So yeah, keep doing your thing, Taylen Green. Just stay healthy. That's the most important thing. All right, Razorback fans, we got something important to talk about coming up next on the Locked On Razorbacks podcast, so stay with us. All right, Razorback fans, I'm here to tell you about our friends over at Monarch Money. Most people can't even name all the financial accounts that they even have or what they're worth, whether it's 401ks, properties, investments. You know, we can give you the full picture, really. You can end up leaving money on the table. That's why there's Monarch Money. It's an all-in-one personal finance tool that brings your entire financial life together in one clean, easy-to-use interface on your laptop or on your phone. Monarch is built for people with busy lives, and if you put off organizing your finances, Monarch is for you. Monarch does all the heavy lifting. You can link all of your accounts in minutes and must see in their clear data visuals. You can get smart categorization of your spending and finally feel in control of your money without ever even touching a spreadsheet. You can also identify that you aren't saving as much as you think you are. You aren't being able to handle the money as much as you think you are, and they're going to help you out with that as well. So don't let financial opportunities slip through the cracks. Use code LOCKEDONCollege at monarchmoney.com in your browser for half off your first year. That's 50% off your first year at monarchmoney.com with code LOCKEDONCollege. Okay, so final segment here on the Locked On Razorbacks podcast. I saved this segment for last because I just wanted to be upfront with a lot of people about something. Because so many times things can be misconstrued or, given a thing. But as a lot of you know, I talked about it yesterday about my feelings on the comments that Hunter Yurchek made. And yesterday I went on Paul Feinbaum and expressed that. I've gone on some other shows and expressed it. And I've been very consistent with it. I'm not running from it. I'm not running from my beliefs on it or my opinions on it. I've been very upfront. And I would say that there's been a lot of Razorback fans that have been supportive of me, or at least in agreement with me on some things and some things that I had to say. And there's some of you that haven't. And that's fine. But I just wanted to make it clear to everybody in case anybody's using it against me or bringing it up or anything. Like, I love the Razorbacks, man. Like, I do. I always have and I always will. I don't want to love any other team. I don't want to root for any other team. I'm never going to. This is what I know, and I don't want to change that. And so I hope people understand that any sort of criticism I have or any sort of feelings I have because of my care and my passion for the Razorbacks. It's not because of, in this day and age, especially with content creation and podcasts, that you can just say outrageous things and you get a bunch of clicks for it. Like, I'm past that stage, man. Like, I got the #1 Razorback podcast right here. I don't need to do rage baiting clickbait crap. Like, I don't need to do that. And I don't want to do it like where some people will say it's clickbait just because you don't agree with it. I'm not talking about that. I'm saying that I am always going to give my honest opinion on things, regardless if it's something you agree with or not. But the intention is always going to be because it's what I believe. It's never going to be because, it's getting too boring around here. Let me fire it up some fire here and get people talking. Like, that's not what I do. That's not what I want to do, nor do I care. But what I want to do also is just make sure that every Razorback fan understands that I'm on their side. I'm on the side of you, the fans, not anyone else's side. Because I think me and you, all of us, we're on the same wavelength. We want the same things. We want the Razorbacks to win. And whenever I'm critical of whether it's Hunter Yurchek or Sam Pittman or John Calipari or whoever, it's never going to come from a place of anger or a place of rage or a place of hatred or a place of trolling or anything like that. It's just going to come from a place of love, because I'm going to be critical of it because I care so much about it. I want to see it do great. And I hope people never think that I want to do anything else. I'm not running from anything, and I'm always going to speak my mind on these things. But I'm doing it because of what I believe, not because someone tells me, not because of, I'm afraid I'll upset somebody. If you disagree, you disagree, but that's the most important thing in life, folks. And I know there's been a lot more serious things that have happened here recently, in our country especially, and I'm not trying to start anything. I'm just saying there's been a lot of that where, people have harm come to them because of disagreeing opinions and all of that. And obviously this is a lot less serious than anything like that in politics. But the point is that I'm okay with you disagreeing with me, and I'm never going to hate you for disagreeing with me. I'm never going to take issue with you disagreeing with me. But as long as you and both me, like both of us, are on the same page of like, hey, We may have differences of opinion, but we want the same thing. And that's what anyone who listens to this podcast probably wants. It's the Razorbacks to win. And so that's what I'm going to keep doing. I'm going to keep expressing my opinion on things when things are bad or when I disagree with decisions that are made. And I'm going to keep on being me. And I appreciate all of you who tune in and listen in, regardless if you agree or disagree. But I'm just hoping that the Razorbacks can continue to win and to win at a high level, because I do believe they can win a championship, regardless of what other people say. Appreciate each and every one of you listening in and watching into the Locked On Razorbacks podcast. Be sure to like and subscribe to the podcast on iTunes or on Google Play. You can also get after me on Twitter, John Nabors Show, for any questions, comments, concerns that you may have. Keep it going from there. Same podcast time, same podcast channel tomorrow afternoon. Have a great day, everybody. See you then.